the religious side of Nathan Bedford Forrest. So I want to talk for a few minutes about the religious character of Nathan Bedford Forrest. Prejudice, white supremacist, slave trader, rough, profane, known for violence, all of those terms are often applied to Nathan Bedford Forrest. You have all heard them applied to Forrest. What about Christian, prayerful, respectful of religion and church member? Have you ever heard those terms applied to Forrest? I suspect you have heard them used seldom, if indeed you have ever heard them used at all. Yet, both sets of these terms are true, and both can be applied to describe Nathan Bedford Forrest, because like all of us, he was a man of many parts, a man whose parts often contradicted each other. Now let's examine that first set of terms. By definitions current in the 21st century, there are very few white people from the 19th century who could not be described as prejudiced, or who would not today be called a white supremacist. In the 19th century, the idea that the Anglo-Saxon people were superior to all the people of the world was a belief that was universal in Western Europe and in North America. The philosophers David Hume, John Fiske, and John Burgess, the biologist Charles Darwin, the German composer Richard Wagner, New England clergyman Josiah Strong, United States Senator and former Union General Charles Schurz, and Senator Henry Cabot Lodge of Massachusetts, British writer Rudyard Kipling, and U.S. President Abraham Lincoln were all prominent people of the 19th century who believed in what they called Anglo-Saxon superiority and what today would be called white supremacists. The concept of Anglo-Saxon superiority rested on the belief that the culture of Western religion and of Western Europe and of North America had spread across the globe and had come to dominate popular tastes, habits, and customs. These nations had created worldwide empires that spread their culture, including their religion, around the globe. In the United States, we were very busy eliminating the culture of the Native Americans. It was a process that the Spaniards had begun in Central and South America. The Canadians were doing the same thing. All the world was coming to be dominated by that culture and the religion and the economics of the Anglo-Saxon nations. All of Africa had been turned into colonies of European nations. Nations in the Pacific were under pressure from colonization as well. The British had taken over India, Burma, Australia, Hong Kong, and were spreading along the coast of China. France had seized Vietnam, as well as numerous islands in the Pacific, and all the other European nations were anxious to do the same. The only reason we were not trying to colonize other areas of the world is that the United States had plenty of territory within our own borders. We were working furiously to expand the territory and fill up that space. In all of these cases worldwide, all of these Western nations said of the native peoples, they are, quote, in the way. And they have to be subordinated if they cooperated and crushed if they don't cooperate. So to say that Nathan Bedford Forrest was a white supremacist is to say that he was a typical white man who lived in the 19th century. He was no better, he was no worse than 99% of the rest of the people who lived during that same time period. Bedford Forrest bought and sold slaves. That's a fact. Forrest never disputed the matter. The idea of trafficking in human beings is repugnant to the minds of the 21st century, but remember, we are the product of our times and our environment.